Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down a pretty important law, one that really affects people when big development projects come to town. We're talking about Nepal's Land Acquisition Act 2034. You can think of it as the official rulebook for when public needs bump up against private property.
So let's just get right to it with the big question on everyone's mind. Can the government actually take your land? You know, when a new highway or a big airport project is announced in your area? Well, the short answer is yes. But, and this is a big but, it's not a free-for-all. There's a whole legal process, a very specific one that they absolutely have to follow.
So, to get a handle on how this all works, we're going to walk through the whole thing. We'll start with why this law even exists, then who gets to make the call, how it all kicks off, what your role as a landowner is, how they figure out the compensation, and finally, what happens after the dust settles.
All right, Section 1, the foundation. First things first, let's get a handle on the groundwork of this law. To really get what's going on, we have to know what the key terms actually mean.
Okay, so the whole thing really revolves around this one key idea, a public work. And you'll see the definition is super broad. We're talking about pretty much any project that's for the benefit of the public. It doesn't matter if it's a huge government project or something run by your local municipality. If it's for the public good, it counts.
All right, next up is the word land. And you might think, well, that's obvious, but the law is really specific. It's not just talking about the dirt. Nope, it means the land and everything on it. Your house, that fence you built, the trees in your yard. If it's permanently stuck to the ground, it's considered part of the land.
And finally, what about the concerned person? Well, that's pretty simple. It's you, the landowner, or, anyone who has a legal right to get paid for that property. This is who the law is really speaking to every step of the way.
Okay, so we've got the why, it's for public works. But what about the who? Who's the one that actually has the power to say, yup, we're doing this, and get the whole process started?
Well, the top authority is the government of Nepal, no surprise there. But they're not the only ones in the game. It can also acquire land for provincial governments, for your local Gaonpalika or Nagarpalika, and even for certain institutions like companies or development committees, as long as it's for a very specific, approved reason.
All right, let's say the decision's been made. A piece of land is needed. So what happens next? How does this whole thing actually begin on the ground?
You know, it doesn't just start with a bulldozer showing up at your door. It's much more methodical. First, an authorized officer gets assigned to the case, then a public notice gets posted, both in public spots and on the land itself. After that, officials have the right to come onto the property to do their homework, surveying, taking soil samples, marking the boundaries, all before they send a final report to the local authority.
And here's something really important for landowners to know. Even at this super early stage, you're protected. If that survey team causes any damage, let's say they have to cut through some of your crops or take down a part of your fence, the law says they have to pay you for that damage. It's right there in Section 7.
Okay, this next part is maybe the most important for any landowner. It's all about your role in this. The law isn't just a one-way street. It actually builds in specific moments where you, the concerned person, can step in and make your voice heard.
So once all that initial survey work is done, things get a bit more serious. A formal acquisition notice goes up. You'll see it posted in public offices and on or near the land itself. And you should think of this as the official starting gun, because from the moment that notice is up, the clock starts ticking. You got at least 15 days to get yourself to the local authority, show them your proof of ownership, and officially file your claim for compensation.
Now listen closely because this next part is super time sensitive. Let's say you think, hey, wait a minute, they shouldn't be taking my land for this. Well, you have a chance to object, but it's a very, very small window. The law gives you exactly 7 days, just 1 week, from when that notice goes up to file a formal objection with the Ministry of Home Affairs. You have to explain exactly why you think your land shouldn't be acquired.
Okay, so let's fast forward. Let's say the acquisition is moving forward. Now we get to the part that, let's be honest, is often the most contentious part of this whole thing, the money. How is compensation actually decided? Who puts a price tag on your property? Well, it's not just one person making a random guess. A special committee is actually formed to figure this out. It's led by the chief district officer, and it also includes the head of the local land revenue office, the person in charge of the project, and, importantly, someone from your local Gaonpalika or Nagarpalika.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The committee doesn't use the same formula every time. It actually depends on who the land is for. See, if it's for a government project, they'll look at things like government guidelines and how much it'll cost you to move. But if the land is being acquired for, say, a private company or another institution, they have to consider more. They have to look at the prevailing market price, the value of your house and crops, a whole shebang.
But what if there's a tenant involved? Let's say you own the land, but a registered tenant, a mohi, is the one farming it. The law is crystal clear about this. The compensation for the land itself, just the land, gets split 50-50. Half for the landowner and half for the tenant. Simple as that.
All right, we're on the home stretch now. The objections have been dealt with, the compensation amount is set. So, what's the final step? What happens in the aftermath?
Well, once all the legal hurdles are cleared, the local authority can officially take possession of the land. And that's the moment of truth. The second they take possession, the ownership transfers. It's a done deal. The land is no longer legally yours, it now belongs to the government or whoever acquired it. But what if they take the land, and then nothing happens? The project stalls, or it gets canceled. Is the land just gone forever? Not necessarily. The law actually has a safeguard for this. If the land was for an institution and they don't use it like they said they would, it has to be returned. If it was for the government, they can try to use it for another public project first. But if they can't, then they also have to give it back to the original owner, assuming, of course, that the compensation money is returned.
And that brings us to the big picture question at the end of all this. This law, it gives us a process, a set of rules. But what it's really doing is forcing a conversation, a constant balancing act. On one side, you have the community's need for progress, for new roads, for energy, for development. And on the other, you have one of the most fundamental rights, an individual's right to their own property. So, where do you draw the line? What's the right balance? That's really a question that never goes away.